So I can see my man Ike's in the background. There we go. There we go. What's up, Coach Andrew?
Not much.
Welcome, everybody. We are in week 13. Championship week. Yeah, we finished 12 last week. So now we're in 13. Championship week. We got the CCS Open this Friday. NCS Open this Friday. It's going to be De La Salle, Saramon Valley, Wilcox versus the Sarah Padres. I'm in front of Ike's, my favorite place, my favorite location. LJ, the manager, is the man. Got Ike smiling right behind me because he loves everybody. What's up, Coach Andrew?
GetSportsFocus is brought to you by Summit Partners, leaders in growth equity investing. Weightsandbars.com. Build your home gym and shop locally from the Bay Area's best fitness equipment experts. Ike's Love and Sandwiches. Championship level sandwiches every single time. South Bay Construction, a reputation built on trust. And by Fuel Good, fueling your success. Conveniently located in Santa Clara off Homestead Road. For more info, go to fuelgoodmealprep.com.
What a weekend.
What a weekend. I know. So your Monarchs lost to Christopher.
Yeah, so technically at the end of the day, it's a win-win for me.
What was that?
Technically, it's a win-win. Can you hear me now?
Hold on, let's wait for that to go by. Somebody was taking out the trash. And speaking of trash, I'm just kidding.
Dang.
Oh, wow. Biggest news of the week was Wilcox beating St. Francis. Number 2, going down to number 7.
Yeah.
Even bigger news is number 1 going down
to number 8.
Yep. So we could talk about both games, but I kind of want to get your thoughts on just how did it happen? How do you think it happened?
Well, okay. So if I'm looking at like primarily, just watching the game, right? It's not at any point did I see Midi panic during that game until the end. And correct me if I'm wrong, people, you can leave a comment about this. What I'm about to say is it's kind of like a repeat of last year where there was a team that played against Midi who was at the point of not trying to lose, but Midi was playing to win. So Midi's on the flip side of that one this time. Midi has the talent. Midi has they have the talent. They have they come from one of the toughest leagues. So they know that at any point they could run this table in this division, no matter what.
Yeah.
However, I think this is like your classic case of getting a little too overconfident and just playing not to lose. Again, comment if you think I'm wrong, but Christopher put together a game, and a lot of those guys kind of knew like that game needed to be flawless for them in order to win that game. That's I just saw her. But that's essentially like what happened with that game was like, Christopher came out knowing that they wanted to win, and I said it, whoever wins this game is going to put themselves in the best position to win this division, and I'm going to stand by that. Yeah. Christopher put it together pretty well. They played hard. They played up to the occasion. And I guess some people could probably argue, with what I'm about to say, they could probably argue that like Midi played down. I don't know. That's up to interpretation. I just think it was your classic play not to lose versus a team that's playing to win. And usually majority of the time the team that's playing to win is going to actually win the game.
Yeah,
Mitty
no,
did it.
absolutely. I think the game changer in that game was Amari, that kick return for a touchdown. That ignited that whole sideline. That gave them the belief that, hey, we could do this, guys. You know, we can win this game. We got playmakers too. And
Right.
I thought that was the play that made a huge difference. Which
Yeah,
is interesting because in the St. Francis Wilcox game, Elijah Walker did the same exact thing. He had a kick return for a touchdown after St. Francis scored. And that really put the pressure on St. Francis to perform a little bit better than they were doing. But that game took a wrong turn when their free safety got hurt, Mac Moroka. I think it was in the second quarter. And it was kind of downhill from there because Jackson Cahoon went down. And then Kingston went down. So it's hard when you don't have 5 starters on defense, or 4 starters on defense. Your main guy, the best running back in the league, going down, and Wilcox just kept going after that. They didn't even look back.
No, I mean, we were talking about the Wilcox and Friends. I mean, it's true. Like, when you lose like your fire starters, like you said, it's kind of hard, right? And those guys are like big time contributors to that team. So, I mean, you can look at that across the board of any team. Like when you lose like your big time contributors, like it makes it a little bit hard for, any team to like get anything going. At the end of the day too, it's like, who's going to rise to the occasion. But, if these guys are also like younger too. So, they are the guys that have stepped up into those positions. So it does like, you do get like a little bit of a hole when you see that. So, I mean, if you look at it there, like that's just kind of like where the, like, kind of the dominoes fell apart after that, once they started, all of them started going down. That's just, it is what it is, and, those are 2 very well played games. I gotta give it to them. That's great. That's freaking awesome.
No, it was exciting.
Good job to Wilcox. Good job to Christopher. Like, I have nothing to say. People had a lot. People had a lot to say
in the comment section.
In the comment sections, to me directly. At the let's just, since we brought it up that way, let's just talk about it, right? This, at the end of the day, you got to think about it this way, right? When you look at the public schools versus the private schools, right, you're really not going to see a big change of the guard at the end of the day, right? Because teams like Wilcox and Los Gatos, they will honestly annually play teams of that strength, which is why they can roll with them. Also, this is also the reason why they're put into the open. There's a big reason for that. It's no disrespect to anyone else that's lower, but like this is the reason why they challenge themselves to move up to the open division. When you're looking at the private schools that go down divisions, you got to think to yourself, okay, what's going on? Are those the down teams of, that year? At the end of the day, like we've been covering WCL this whole season. Mitty was the top of the bottom half of the league this year, coming from being in the top half last year. That's the big difference, and it's going to be like that constantly. Yet what you can't push this aside is that those teams in the WCAL, they are every year, they're always in the playoffs.
Yep.
Every single year. Has nothing to do with recruiting. It's nothing to do with that. I don't know where people are getting this whole recruiting thing. Some schools do it, but they do it within the rules. Like you have to.
Yeah.
There's rules. Even public schools, like there's rules for you guys too as well. Like no one talks about that. We
Mm-hmm.
could, but we won't. It's just because private schools get the most flack for it because at the end of the day, it looks like they build programs, but at the end of the day, the families are the ones that are making the decision to go there. Like it has nothing to do with it. Like we're like I think if people want to really like understand like what we're talking about, go read the comment sections on some of these games. Um, but yeah, like I think there was a response to one of them said like in compared to Northern California, compared to Southern California, like the rules are a lot different in both areas. It's like the
Totally
same thing. Yeah, oh, yeah, we can even bring it up to like there's a whole different thing with the whole section. Like look at the way that rankings happen. Like your leagues are completely different. Everyone
Yeah.
runs things completely different, right? So you can't really pin just public schools on that because look at schools like Wilcox and Los Gatos, San Ramon Valley, Folsom. Those are public schools. They're
Yeah.
keeping their players there.
Well, I also think they also have really good feeder programs, right? They have that feeder program that's been around for a long time, and more likely than not, all those parents are going to want to stay together and put their kids in the same high school because
Mm-hmm.
that's a winning formula, right?
Right.
So that I mean, I always answer the comments in the videos, and I try to, you know, monitor everything that's going on there. And yeah, it was just funny. There's some really interesting comments there.
Yeah. And to be completely honest, like it's like I went to a private school. Obviously everyone knows I went to MIDI, right? You know, our our Pop Warner team when I was in seventh and eighth grade, you know, we all tried to just stay together. Like a lot of us played together for like 2, 3 years, and we're like, oh, we can go to high school together and play together again. That's what we wanted to do,
Yeah,
and it just so happened that majority of my team ended up at MIDI, and that was the choice. Also like my sister was already going there. So at the
yeah,
end of the day, like that's what I wanted to do. And if you want to talk about feeder programs, it's like the same thing. Like if like a lot of kids that go to the private schools, like especially the Catholic schools, right? It's the West Catholic, right? Usually they go to a Catholic elementary school too. And that's a feeder program into those schools, not just for athletics. It's usually for like academics.
academics. Yes, yes. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for
Like
saying.
it's huge. Like mine was like again, I'll use myself as an example, right? I had a choice to go to Bellarmine, St. Francis, or MIDI. And it was just dependent on like, where like I did well on my high school placement exam to get in. I got into all three schools. Just so everyone knows, I got into all three schools.
Nice.
I chose MIDI not only because like my older sister went there, but I liked the academics and I liked all the other extracurriculars that they had over there, other than other than sports, right? Here's a fun fact. I was in performing arts. MIDI
Mm,
has one of the top performing arts programs in the area. So it was good to be a part of it.
yeah,
So there, fun fact that people don't know about Coach Andrew.
I think
Oh,
it's wonderful to know that we have a child star here at Get Sports Focus, and that's awesome. No,
but
that's cool. I didn't know that. So you're an actor, or what are you, a dancer, actor? Oh, wait, you
I
break
did
dance.
dance. I did dance, but I was actually in concert choir. I was in the choir, and then I did musical theater in middle school.
Nice. Okay.
So there's those things there, right? Like it wasn't purely just a sports driven thing because I never wrestled before I went to MIDI. I started wrestling over there and I did pretty good over there. It's things like that. Like that's what drew me over there. And I loved all my teachers. It was just those things. There's all encompassing things like the same thing that you have to do when you pick any school. So I'm just one example, right? I'm just using myself as an example that like there's a
Great.
lot more that goes into it
Yeah,
than just sports.
I think it's an immediate reaction when playoffs comes around and a big public school, like let's just say Salinas loses to Sarah, that's like the comment. Oh, well, it's not fair, this and that. Yeah, I can see where they're coming from, but at the same time, it's like, well, I mean, don't blame the school, blame the system, because the system is set up that way.
Well, here's my rebuttal to that. Ready for my rebuttal for that with Salinas? You have 4 schools down there that are in your division. So you have Salinas, Alvarez, Alisal, and North Salinas, all great teams, right? You have one private school in that area. At the end of the day, if you had one private school in that area, wouldn't they be the ones like technically recruiting all the people from that area, and they would be a super team over there? But they don't.
Mm-hmm.
People choose to go to Salinas because of the tradition, because of the history. So there's my rebuttal to that. Like, some people just choose it. Like, they choose to go to those certain schools. Like, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, all those schools are actually really close to each other.
Yeah, I think so too. And they have a really good feeder program.
Yeah.
Don't they? Yeah, they're massive when it comes to youth football.
Right. And it's like, look at schools like Hollister, right? Hollister's got one high school, right? That's why, like, at the end of the day, right, their feeder program literally just feeds into one school, which is why, their sports contend very well, because everyone just got to go there.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. So we got, what's that?
Did you see the game?
Yeah, I saw the highlights. The which one?
The Sarah Salinas game.
I saw the highlights. Yeah, that was, yeah. At the end of the day, right, and this is, again, no disrespect to Salinas, and we've said it, Salinas, you belong there. There's a reason why you got bumped up and Mitty got bumped down. You had a better season than they did. That's kudos to you guys, and you guys have made it to the Open pretty much every year. Like, you guys are that good. Like, don't ever think that, like, we're thinking that you guys are less than that. This is just how the draw happens. Like, this is the draw.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just what it is. And at the end of the day, there is going to be really no team that's going to contest with Sarah. They are they run this table right now. And everyone just needs to recognize that. It is what it is. It's a very well-ran program. People are bought into the program. People are bought into the system. The coaching staff cares about the kids, not only as athletes and students, but they care about them as people and what they can do past this. Like, that's a full encompassing system. You can't, like, when you have something like that, it's hard to beat. It's really hard to beat that. So
culture, right? That's what you're talking about.
It's cool. Yeah, it's the culture. And you guys have a great culture at Salinas. So, Wilcox has a great culture at Wilcox.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting game. What are you thinking about this game?
It's going to be physical, and I think the way that Wilcox played against St. Francis, they come with the same energy. And mind you, right, they have some pretty darn good players over there. Like, this is going to be, I think this is going to be probably like one of the best matchups for Sarah this year.
I think so too, because I was looking at the schedule, and it's almost like you take what's good about Valley, good about SI, we'll take what's good about St. Francis, Verdon, all these, even De La Salle and Folsom, and then you put it together, and it's Wilcox.
Mm-hmm.
It's Wilcox. Defensively, offensively, I would say special teams, I think Sarah's got the advantage when it comes to special teams, because their special teams has been the key all year. So if there's a game changer in this matchup, I think it's going to be the special teams. But I mean, Jaden Green versus Elijah Walker, Tyson versus Smith. Shoot. You got Jeremiah Lewis versus Jabari Mann. Timo versus Latrell Riggs. Moose versus John Holthouse. There's so many matchups that you can kind of put together, and and this is definitely speed versus power. And Wilcox got a lot of speed. I don't think Sarah's seen a team with this kind of speed. You know,
Right.
I mean, St. Francis, they just got beat, plain and simple. You know, they lost guys through injuries, and they got beat. And Wilcox, they just kept punching until the towel, until the towel was thrown. So yeah, I mean, great season for the Lancers, though. We didn't expect them to finish number 2. I think I personally expected them to be in the middle of the pack, but they still improved. Chase going down was huge. And then now, Jackson, his brother, he had a torn like quad or something. And man, yeah, those injuries really, really hurt. But Elijah Walker, man, I'm gonna crown Elijah Walker as the best running back in NorCal right now. I have not seen anybody like him. And I've seen some really, really good teams. So you can take that to the bank, Mr. Walker. Kingston, I would say he's the second running back that I saw this year. That's like, I mean, this kid is a monster, and he's a junior. He's coming back. Elijah's he's graduating. And I gotta go with Jaden Green, man. He's gonna be he'd be the third running back. That's my top 3 running backs right there.
I like it. And I think
same when those guys go against each other, man.
Oh yeah, and I think like after seeing it, right? Like, after watching the games over the weekend, this is where, I've already been hearing it a lot. Is, a lot of people are thinking like this is the fall of the WCAL. And I was like, no, this is not. A lot of those teams are returning a lot of their guys. St. Francis, majority of them are coming back. Reardon, majority of their team's coming back. Midi, majority of their team's coming back. Sarah, always got people coming back. SI, it's got people coming back. Same with Valley.
Yeah.
And the one that's going to sneak up that we've been talking about all year, Sacred Heart. Their whole, I think a good amount of their team is coming back.
I'm not sure, but
we'll see.
You mentioned SI. Shout out to Soren Hummel, the quarterback. He's our GSF Weekly Offensive Player of the Week. They played and they got Valley. They played to the end, and that was a really good game. Kevin was there. Did you see the highlights?
I haven't watched them yet.
Okay. Well, at the very end, Kevin was doing an interview, and somebody said something, and you can hear Kevin saying, "I don't do predictions." It was funny. I was like, "Oh man, I'm sorry." He was like, "Al, man, they think I'm with you." I was like, "Well, you are with me, but that's pretty cool that you got called out. You didn't even do anything or say anything."
Oh man.
No, but it was great. I think SI is a really good program. I like their head coach. He's very he's done a very good job with his team, and I think this Los Gatos SI matchup is going to be really interesting. They're going to go to SI. Well, Los Gatos is going to SI, and
that's going to be a good game.
It's tough to play there.
Oh yeah.
Really 100%. Tough to play. So I think I'm going to pick SI on this one.
You really? I think with how Los Gatos played, I'm gonna go with Los Gatos on this one.
Okay.
No. And then obviously I'm going with Sarah. Who else is there?
Oh, you are going with Sarah?
Yeah, for sure. Because at the end of the day, I want this. It's weird, right? It's weird. This is okay. So let me explain why I'm saying it's weird. Sarah beats Wilcox. Wilcox goes down and plays another game. Whoever wins the game between SI and Los Gatos.
They're in a really good spot.
So from there, I think that puts Wilcox, whoever they play, regardless whether it's Los Gatos or SI, Wilcox is going to be in a very, very good position to take the Division One.
Yeah.
So
Or the Open.
Or the Open. I'm not gonna go.
Okay, so both of them are in a really good position, because what if Sarah does get upset? They still play
go Division One. They still play for Division One.
And then they go into NorCal, and then they'll probably go to state. Wilcox, I mean, I'm sure they're highly motivated to play Sarah. They're going to be ultra highly motivated to play the Padres. And I do think they have a shot.
You think so?
I do. I think they have a shot. But I'm not going to give them the win because Sarah's too deep. But
that's why
it's going to be a great game. And they're going to pound that ball. Moose will finally go against some college players.
Right.
I'm looking forward to seeing Moose going against Colin Taitua, Moose going against Halthouse. It's gonna be a really good matchup in the line of scrimmage. There's gonna be some hits, man. So I'm bringing Manala with me. We're gonna have a double coverage. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun game. So
I mean, there's a lot of games that are gonna be, I think there's a lot of games that are gonna be good. I think in Division 2, like the game to look out for is gonna be this next matchup for Christopher. Is Menlo and Christopher. That's gonna be a good game.
It's gonna be.
That's
tough.
gonna be a good game. That's gonna be a tough game. We'll see. At the end of the day, like if Christopher can replicate the way that they've been playing, then shoot, go for it.
Yeah.
I think Menlo just had a few miscues in their game, but they stuck in the game pretty much the whole time. So it's gonna be. This is a whole different and the thing is you can't even look at what has happened prior. Like you really can't. You can't look at oh, this is what happened in the regular season. Like no one really cares anymore. This is this is a brand new season. This is the playoffs.
Yeah.
And whoever runs the table in Division 2, you have to play somebody for. You got to play somebody for the regional.
Yes.
And that game is not going to be easy because guaranteed it's going to be somebody from the NCS at that point. Right. Yep. It's going to be someone from there. Like I can kind of think of probably a San Ramon Valley. And that's going to be tough. So whoever wins Division 2, you got to look to that. Now you're going to play against those other teams that are out there as well.
I do think San Ramon's got a shot at De La Salle.
They do. But see, that's the thing too.
De La Salle's got a shot at winning another title as well. So.
Yeah. And then see, that's the other thing too. When it comes down to the rest of once we get to regionals, that's a whole different committee that decides who goes to where. So winner of Division 2, right? Let's just, you can even think about it, right? You could end up playing De La Salle. You could end up playing Folsom, or you could end up playing San Ramon Valley. Those are some of the top teams in Northern California. But put yourself in a good position. I think that's the thing that, but you got to take it one game at a time. It just doesn't get any easier after this.
Yeah.
No, and all the games there wasn't really a big blowout game unless I think it was just I think Los Gatos, I could say for sure, was probably the biggest blowout.
Well, Sarah was a blowout game.
Well, that we weren't expecting.
Oh, yeah. Running clock with 7 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah, that sucks.
I was like, man, they could have scored 80 points.
It's just all about preparation at this point. I think Sarah's going to be just even more prepared for, this game because they know what's coming. They know what Wilcox is all about, and they got a pretty good sample watching them play watching the last 2 weeks. You got a Los Gatos game to watch over, and you got a St. Francis game to watch now. That's some good scouting right there for them. Yeah. So, I think it's going to be, I don't know. Like it's a good matchup. That's going to be a good game to watch. And like I said, whoever won the Midi Christopher game, like I said, is going to run the table, or has the best chance to run the table in Division 2.
All right. Sounds good, Coach Andrew. Well, let's close out with this. We got the GSF Senior All-Star Game coming up. Been receiving a lot of nominations. We are up to almost 70.
Nice.
I'm seeing some big names, but I'm also seeing some names that I've never heard of. But we're going to investigate. We're going to do our homework and come up with a roster and put together a roster that's competitive. Got the GSF 5-star versus the Heroes. We're going to keep the same coaching staff. And we're going to start confirming players this week.
Yeah, and we got to be clear too. So the way that this is chosen, and this is for everyone to understand like how this is chosen, there's a reason why we put the GPA, because you are a student athlete, right? That like you got to take care of that. You know, that also shows not only us, but like, you know, you're showing coaches at the end of the day that like, you know, you're responsible and, you know, you're going to take care of business. I think we're changing it to like, you gotta have it now. Like you should have a 3.0. You should have a 3.0 by now.
Yeah.
Like at this point, you should have a 3.0. Like
if you don't have a 3.0, you can't. That's just how it is. So, it's going to be exciting, man. Hey, well, speaking of student athletes, congratulations to Mr. Milwaukee Smith.
Congrats.
Milwaukee Smith. His commitment to Oklahoma, OSU. Yeah. I think that's where Garth Brooks went. I'm a country guy. So I saw after beating the Cowboys, he committed to becoming one. But it was cool. It was cool to see the GSF highlights on his commitment video. I personally think I could have done a better job with the video, but you know. No. Hey, congratulations to Mr. Smith, and so right now, what I want to do is we can close this out. Anything else you want to talk about, Coach, before we end this?
No, just get those nominations in. I've sent in a few of mine already.
Yep. So what I'd like to do right now is we're gonna close this out by introducing our first GSF Senior All-Star. He's not a quarterback. He's not a running back. He can catch, but he's not a receiver. He is a 4-star long snapper from the Sarah Padres. His name is Michael Pedrati. And Pedrati's been working with GSF since he was a sophomore. We have tons of footage of him to show. We'll roll it right now. But I talked to Michael on August 15th, the day after he committed to Brown University. Yes, Sarah's got a long snapper that is going to Brown on a scholarship. And he is our very first GSF Senior All-Star, confirmed. And this is going to be a GSF student athlete profile you're about to see. So I talked to Michael before the season, okay? And we talked about his goals, his team, his commitment to Brown, and just, you know, being a student athlete at Sarah. And he kind of talked about some of the things that they do there that I know a lot of people would be interested in knowing. So, all right, Coach Andrew, we'll see you next week. And enjoy this student athlete feature on Michael Pedrati.